Reptilian, you know, a lot of people get the reptilian twisted because they see so much shit on YouTube and they see all these movies and shit. We've been in mythology and a whole bunch of other sci-fi, when my account is nothing like any of those. So if that's what you're looking to hear, you might as well stop the video and hit next now, because I'm telling you from my personal experience, real shit that happened, that I knew took place, that made the reptilian eyes, my experience with the reptilian, everything to equate to what I'm here to explain to you so you have understanding. You know, we've been so told of everything and we so lack enough experience, so we believe that just about anything that's in mythology could come to life and have a different meaning than a spiritual meaning. Anything in mythology, you look at it as it has a significance, and it's a spiritual significance. But we take it in a literal sense and we miss the whole allegory of what it's trying to convey. And so with that in mind, I'm gonna give you my experience with what took place that gave me the reptilian eyes. So prior to me having the reptilian eyes, so that I could make it known to you, you know, you could go to me 2 years ago or by Facebook or whatever, and you see there was no reptilian eyes. It was never in my life. So when I had my encounters with the stars, this is when everything started happening. It was like the attack of the elements. You know, and now I know the Temple of Isis is written under I am Isis. It's like you have to go through initiation. And I didn't choose my initiation though, that's the funny thing. I was just pulled in and part of it, but it's the first level. How you doing, ladies? Yes. And so with that in mind now, I automatically being pulled in experienced the first level of it, which is my experience with the 4 elements. These 4 elements now is the elementals, and they attack you in the form of these spirits, entities, dragons, lizards, you know, all the stuff you see of the Egyptian gods. All of a sudden they come alive. And you know, we don't understand what, you know, we mean by that. Well, from my side and my perspective, so you get a good understanding, it's like your whole vision changes. You start seeing in the indigo spectrum. It's like an overlay now over your eyes. So you're seeing these things literally, and nobody else is. You know, people are standing next to you, you're talking, but you're seeing things walking by, and you're not saying that, you just still, okay, and you're observing. So these now start, for a lot of people, making them think that they have mental issues and schizophrenic, and a lot of people do encounter it when you have post-traumatic stress disorder or anything of that sort. It opens up your subconscious mind, which is like an archetype world of symbols, and the symbols are from the primordial time, the beginning. You know, it's like a forever recorder. So with that in mind, this is how it started getting to where I had to make sense out of my experience with all these entities or elemental spirits that just seemed to be overwhelming me. It made me have empathic ways. I couldn't be around nobody. It was very, very sensitive energy. I had to just really isolate myself. If I was to walk into a room with 4 people, 2 on each side, 2 on each side, as I walked by them, I could literally hear their thoughts. And that was the crazy part about it. And it was like, you don't hear what they're thinking, like, oh, he's a nice person, he's a bad person. You feel their energy, how they feel about you. So it comes like as a psychic attack. Some of it could be love, but when you're mixing all of it together, it becomes chaotic. And that's what we usually, I feel, it's like a chaotic energy that make you want to just leave the room and get out the area. So you learn first that you have to isolate yourself and how to protect yourself from other forces or negative energy or energies that you're not in balance with. It also now make you very aggressive because the energy is so strong. It also gives you a radiance. This radiance, other people interpret it in an aggressive form, but you don't mean it in an aggressive form. It's more, now you're projecting your mental and emotions with your thoughts and your words. So they encounter it in the sense of that type of energy. So they will feel like they're being, you know, more mentally attacked and psychologically attacked with your words, which could be very painful to them, but you don't really come off to you in your sense. To you, you just probably turned it up one notch, but to them it went up like 15, 20 notches. So you got to understand that's like the first level of the empath, and to master your empath self. Once you be able to master your empath self, you would have had to learn how to bind all of these spirits, how to put them in check. By you binding them, you learn how to unite yourself with them, because you wasn't really binding them in a sense. It was your disunity that brought all of this about you. It's like you have a pseudo soul, and they have to take all of that pseudo-ness out of you. So it's like you got believe in this, you believe in that. So they take everything out of you that you believe in, because you was only taught as a belief. So they need your full concentration, and without it being like a clean slate, they can't help you. So for them to help you, you can't have a belief, because it's going to interfere with what they're going to try to do to you, because it's going to contradict what you was told. Because in this world, what is really good is really bad in there, and to us, and what's bad to us is really good to them. So it's like a backwards thing, but it's your soul. So once you're able now to bind them and come to these terms, and you go through an alchemy process of like your body denying it food. You have to fast, but by doing that, you give the body a chance to go through its different stages, so you could free your mind from your body, because you constrain your body in a coffin called craving, where your mind stay in the lower solar plex, because of the simple facts you're always thinking about eating food. You probably eating lunch, thinking how you're going to make dinner, what you're going to have to go do to make money. It's always in a state of taking. Gotta. So this now becomes a part of you, and you don't really be your higher self, you know. So we have to first get rid of that side of you and bring you up to your higher mind. You know, we call that the lower self, or you're thinking with the lower solar plexus. So those trainings and those experiences is designed just for that, to make you withdraw from those and start learning about your other self, the self that don't rely on information, the self that don't rely on gadgets, the self that don't need no food at the moment. You just focus on yourself. The things that bother you, the things that make you do habitual cycles, what you want and expect from yourself. When you look at yourself, what do you see? You see your soul. It's going to challenge what you're saying. You can't front to it. You can front to people and put a mask on, but not to your soul. So it's not going to be a unification and alignment for a while. It's going to be more like if an attack, because your soul want only truth and what's best for you. You want to do what society say and follow everybody, take care of your kids, and get a job. Your soul don't care about none of that stuff. It's really probably against it, and it's going to try to push you in that type of direction. And the soul got a thing where it's mastered the law of attraction and alchemy, so it know how to align everything you need. It gets to the case of you might want, but God know what you need. So they give you just what you need, and you suffer because you denying yourself, you grow. Now, when you reach a certain level of growth and self-denial, it's like those wasn't really you. You realize you're the soul. Once you realize those was all insecurities and it wasn't actually you, and you still surviving, even though you underwater or you're holding your breath, you didn't die. Now you start seeing that there is just you, the consciousness or whatever, and you start shifting. So now with this shift, it's like you go in the cocoon. That was the little part we just talked about, to coming out the butterfly, where you shift out of that body and that returned now back to the gods. So what happened is, by it returning to the gods, if you have insecurity, you could say that that was the god of war, Mars, because you would challenge anybody with principle, and so you give it back. So now when somebody come to challenge you, there is no challenge for them to challenge. You know, that's the art of war. So you learn how to do self-denial, give back all the 12 zodiacs their virtues, you know what I'm saying? So that you could overcome them. You could look at them as the 12 things that Samson had to overcome. That's how usually they look at it. You know, and it's the same thing with you. You have to overcome them. And once you pass this, you can say now, you conquered the underworld, the lower self animal you. With it, when you first go in the underworld, you're gonna know it's real because, like, I got like a few charts, a few things, a few maps was downloaded to me, and also I saw maybe, I say, about 20,000 different species flash in front of my face within 4 minutes. Imagine that. It was flashing like data coming down. And it's funny, I recognize every single one of them, like if it was like a perfect clear image. And the crazy shit is, it was really in static noise, like in some poltergeist looking at your TV screen. But to me, I saw every one of them perfectly clear. And you know, through some filtering and some contrasting, I was able to pull up everything to verify that that's not what I was just seeing. Especially in my hand video, if you ever saw me projecting through my hands, it's kind of dark. Those images is 100% real. And I didn't know how it worked at first. You got to look at it like, you see God or the Almighty or the most powerful. I know that now. I didn't believe this 2 years ago. You couldn't even tell me none of this shit. So don't think, you know, I'm a hood nigga from the hood, used to do my thing and hustle and do everything. So don't think that this is some old spiritual Christian shit. I'm totally against it and still is today. And they be coming up to me like Reese one, but they don't understand the true philosophy, so they get fucked up and think it's demonic and crazy. So don't think that I'm on some Christian religious shit. A lot of people just don't know how to use it as a tool. I mastered it, so I know what I'm talking about, and I could be challenged on it at any given time. I know how to make it applicable, but I don't believe in it now like that. So, because I'm living the real thing, there's no need for me to speculate or have opinion or try to explain what somebody else wrote in the book when I wasn't there. You got to understand that. So there's no need for us to even talk about it. If you wasn't there and I wasn't there, what the fuck do we got to talk about it for? But do you understand the significance, and do you understand what it means? That's all I want to know. Can you connect the dots? You watch that CSI and Law and Order and all that. How good are you? Could you do some real shit like that? Do it. Connect the dots. Do some research. That's what I'm talking about. But now, back to this. So once you get to this certain level now, you say you complete the underworld. Upon your completion of the underworld, and you have seen all those beings, what wind up happening now, every one of them that you see and you recognize, they come and pay you a visit that night or that following night when you go to sleep at the 3 o'clock hour. That 3 o'clock hour is designated to the stars. That's when the star beings come out and the moon being come out, and they pay their homage to you and give you what you need to start reminding you slowly. You see, you only get mature when you're older because these fairies do it, these guys do it, these deities. You don't just mature and get sense because of your experience. No, something grow you. That's the story of tree fairies. There's human fairies too. That's what our ancestors show us in them terracotta dolls and all the images of like the pharaohs with a whole bunch of little statues around them. That's what it really means. That's for real. When you go to sleep, you're not dreaming. It's that actual picture of Anubis standing over you and all his little helpers come and they fix you up. That's called the circadian rhythm. Y'all got to understand it. There's some people who can't see it, and it's a lot of people who can. It's a big difference. You know what I'm saying? Hold on 1 second, man. What's up, bro? Yeah, like I was saying now, you see, because it's a big difference now, because in the underworld, when you see all of those spirits and you get a visit from them, which they come every night at that 3 a.m. hour, you know, that's a whole nother story to explain. What tape? place. You know, that's what I'm saying. I got the real stories, man. This ain't no goddamn make-believe or no book, man. And when I write the book, I'm gonna be like Eli. I got the actual stories. But anyways, because you can see in the magenta spectrum, and you can see them now, and it's like an overlay on your eyes. It's like, you know, when you go into fear mode, you get into the reptilian sense of it. You go into fight or flight. Well, it's then automatically your eyes flip into a different sequence, and you see in a different frequency. So that DNA switches off and on automatically, but it was done through trauma or some type of post-traumatic stress experience. So now with that in mind, when you see these things and these entities, there's Bess. Bess come now after you complete the underworld, and he looks like the Anunnaki. He is an Anunnaki. And you learn Anunnaki lessons, their symbols, like the X-type cross fence. You know how your fences, the wire fences that you see in the Mesopotamian symbols and all that. You learn all of those old symbols, the solar my symbol and all that, the sun symbols. And after he finished with you, he do some eye shit to you, and then he ripped the fucking shit out of your eye. He cuts that shit, and it feels so painful. Y'all don't know what pain is. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That reptilian eye shit ain't nothing that you think it is, man. It's a fucking entity, or for me, that's all I saw back then. I didn't even have all the overlays like I do now. All I saw was the orb. I'm following the blue orb, and it'll just hold you still like it's Knight Rider, and that shit is just going back and forth. Well, it's going up and down, and that shit is fucking ripping your flesh like with a laser. You ripping it, hurt. You feel it. It's like worse than giving birth, man. Let me tell you, my toes is curled up, my hands is in a ball, and I'm crying, and inside I'm curled up even more, begging like a baby. You know, and it took maybe about a week and a half. And every time I was going through it, I was like, no, please, no. It was torture. I was like, I was forced to take it. Because after I felt the first pain, it was incredible. It's like somebody take a needle, stick it in your eye, and then start just yanking on it, pulling it down, ripping the skin down very slowly. And you could feel the meat tearing. The meat is literally tearing, was flapping. Before it fixed, it was like I couldn't take the pain at times. And when I look, you feel like it's a piece of your flesh hanging off of it. It wasn't a smooth, perfect cut yet. I was moving before it could move, so it was like a flap there, so I couldn't see into like my peripheral. It was a piece of meat there for a few days. It stood like that until I took the pain. And the day when I said, you know what, I took the longest pain. Maybe it was about 2 to 3 hours worth of both eyes getting done. And I was crying like a little baby, curled up, like if somebody tortured you and you couldn't do nothing about it more than curl up inside yourself, but allow the torture to go through. And let me tell you, when I finished, and I took pictures of it. I got it posted on my Facebook the day that it actually happened, and I didn't have the slit then. And so, you know, when I finished, what made it fuck me up and made me start realizing that, because this back then, I'm telling myself I'm the son of Ra, I'm on some Egyptian shit. You know, I am a god, and I'm not saying it in that sense. I thought I was one of the gods, like the Egyptian gods, and I was sent here by Rob, his son. And you know, this is what you get over, because you get all these channels and all these information come down to you, but you don't know who's coming from until you're able to see, you know, and that takes time if you're cooperating and doing it right. So now, with me now seeing that I'm the son of Ra and all this other shit, and after I've been through that pain to actually get my eyes done, let me tell you, I saw this man in cloud, like an old man, all white in cloud. He came down over me, behind me, on my shoulders, and he pat on my shoulders, and then he just hugged me and put his head on top of my head, and fucking chills went through my whole body. I felt so much love. It took all the pain away, and I knew there was somebody. I don't even want to say that word still up to now, but I knew. yo, I felt it, and it put fear in me. And I said, it took away all my pain. It was the greatest love in the world, you know, and it showed me like it was honor because I took it. But let me tell you, me now, like I said, thinking I'm Ra and this Egyptian god, yeah, this is me. I didn't know it was either something observant or participating that is really observing the whole situation. And so when I was in my most pain and I'm dying, trying to bring myself back from, you know, you had to leave your body to experience that type of pain. And when I'm coming back now and I'm sitting there in the mirror looking to see what the fuck they did, yo, let me tell you, I couldn't even move. I'm frozen stiff just looking, and that's when it all took place. I saw all of a sudden the orb come over my head, and I'm looking, and it makes a big flash of light, and then it also, what's up? All of a sudden it started taking form. This form that it took now was that man in like a gray beard, but it was just like an angelic being. You know, somebody like an old kung fu fighter, the old man, the drunken man type look, but all white, beautiful white, perfect snow white. And he just ascended down, and he just pat me on my shoulders, like I said, rest his head on top of my head, and all my shit went away. I felt comfort, love, everything. But I just, like I said, the most important thing is the fear. I repeat the story a few times or said it over so you can realize it was the fear, because I didn't believe shit. I didn't tell you I'm starting to believe yet, but I started realizing something is going on. This is beyond what I thought it was. And so I gave up that Son of Ra shit and all that to say, what the fuck is going on? This is not what I think it is it? So right there, that's opened me up. But I say now, 4 months later, the reptilian slit came in the eyes. It just started coming up in all my pictures. It started coming alive. It was like I would be in the sun and I'm trying to do a video. All of a sudden, it's like something is coming out my eyes, and I'm there going like, trying to grab at myself and pull myself together, slipping in. And when I go back and play these videos, I watch it, it just coming alive. It went through its own transformation and came alive. So that's how everything be. And shit, it's the animator. It's like the orb itself. So it animates a lot of things, you know. So just so that you understand the story of how a nigga do get the reptilian. Now, I'm not trying to say it, and I did leave out a story part because this is getting very long. When this first started fighting the elements, I was using, you know, going to churches, getting exorcism and all types of stuff until I read the coffin text that showed me how to use the candle and bind. And once I learned how to bind, that's when one day I was taking out the trash and fear came over me. And I know it wasn't me. I'm not scared of a cat. But when upon my investigation, I turned around to go grab the cat and it was nothing. But when I went back inside my garage, I saw a reptilian, a black-shaped reptilian in the corner, squished up scared. And all of a sudden it just morphed back into my body. And from there, you know, I ran upstairs and I said, show yourself. And sure enough, my eyes turned into the reptilian slit. And from there, he was my teacher. He taught me about fear. I was scared to go in that world. I should have looked in there. When I looked in there, it haunted me when I came out. Everything I saw was in my living room. It was all over my walls. I couldn't get rid of it. I was scared to death. And I had to face him in the mirror. He was the mirror. He showed me my many faces. He showed me in my first life, my second life, my past life. He showed me as a woman. He showed me everything. But he never taught. He just looked at me with a sinister look. And like my head was, my neck will lock in a magnetic field. And if I ask him a question, he'll either do one of these or one way only. You understand? That's it. And so I was able to overcome my fears through him. He projected each one of those entities that I told you. He started showing them to me. And I was scared to death every time he showed it to me until I learned how to overcome those fears by holding my breath and doing that breathing shit. Even though I've read it now in meditation books and the significance, but back then I had to learn it on my own, to just breathe out all the air out your stomach and hold it there. Once you do that, fear is gone. Your thoughts is gone and you're good. And so after that, I was able to travel those worlds, and it opened up the portal, because one thing he is, the reptilian is the dragon in its physical form, in its earthly form. In its earthly form, it's also the alien gray suit that you see everybody in. That's just a consciousness suit. There's nobody in it. It's just a conscious projection. It takes your consciousness in different atmosphere, like from Saturn to Mars to Earth. It's a different density, and they're made up biochemistry of different stuff. The gray suit just could handle everything. It's like a universal suit that all consciousness assume when they're flying through. Just like those light orbs you see, you assume that when you fly through. It's like a universal sequence mind go through to travel, and you have to realize that's all it is. So don't let them kid you with all that alien stuff and all that stuff. But that's how I really got into the Anunnaki. I learned Nibiru was here because of it coming into me, and it showed me its story, its life. You know, everything I experienced its side of life. They took me through YouTube to a bunch of his videos, a lot of books from Babylon and pictures, and they're not like how you think. You look at a picture of the rocks in Babylon, and all of a sudden it start coming at you in 3D and breaking up into 4D, and you go deeper and deeper into it. You see people start moving around. You see the picture, but then it start becoming an actual event that take place at that time. So that was how we learned in the reptilian way of doing things. It's not the same as everybody else's way. Like after I first got the spirits come up on me, it seemed like something made me go the next day to the ocean, and I prayed to the 4 elements. I prayed to the 4 corners, the east, west, north, south. Then I looked up and prayed to the God of the above, and I looked down and prayed to the Prince of below. And my court message was, don't fuck with me, you know, I recognize all of them. And from there, they've been with me ever since. Anyway, this is getting long, but I just was giving y'all my reptilian experience so y'all don't be having it all fictitious out there like it's fake. And this has all got to do with the higher kingdoms of the spiritual world. University of Conscious Science. One love.